Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Okay, so we're just starting. We're talking about, one of the things we're talking about is Royan. We're talking about how could one object overcome another object. So we know the famous concept of Roiv. If one object is 51% and the other one is 49%, it could overcome it. There's another way, which is much less than Roiv, and that is if you could taste it. If you could taste it, even a little taste, which we call batel b'shishim, 1 out of 60. That's one way. Another way is called Royan. Royan is you make believe. If you typically use it when you have two items that are very similar. They look the same, they taste the same. So you do a Royan. Royan means you just replace one item with another item that's not similar. If two items are similar, how could one overcome the other? They taste the same. So you pretend that, let's say when you have wine and blood, that's how we first saw it in the Mishnah. Wine and blood, it's a different type of Royan, but when they're the same color, and no matter how much wine you're going to pour into the blood, it's still going to look like blood. So what do? So you pretend that the wine, or you pretend that the blood is something else, is water. And then you base it on the water. How much water do you need in order to overcome the wine, or how, etc. So we're going to talk about Royan a little bit. So the question is, how come when it comes to min b'minoi, and again, here in MDY people don't have trauma from min b'minoi anymore. We learned it a lot. We had geshmake videos with it. Min b'minoi. Min b'minoi just means two of the same thing. How come we use a roiv and not batel b'shishim? It should be batel b'shishim. In other words, 1/60th, when you have min b'minoi, then why do you go with roiv? Go with royan. Go with royan, meaning pretend that one is not the same item, and over there, if it's not the same item, even if it tasted slightly different or it looked a little different, then it would be batel. How come we go with roiv and not with royan? So says the Gemara. Let's just do it real quickly. I'll read it quickly because we did it yesterday. Tanoi. It's actually machlokes Tanaim, smack in the middle of the Amud, like 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 lines from the bottom. Why machlokes Tanaim? The saying, "Dlish yesh b'yayin lavan echalav vidbiloi." Is this one right over here? I don't remember anymore. This guy, look how he steps up to the water. He has a vessel full of milk, and he wants to be toiv the kli. And the problem is that the water from the mikvah is not going to hit the inside of the kli everywhere because there's something there. There's another substance. So if, like in this case, there's less milk than air, in other words, there's less than 50% of the kli is full of milk. So you go by the roiv. Most of what went into the kli is water, and memela, it's a good tvila. So if you have white wine, you pretend that the wine is not white, it's red. So here's another way to do Royan. Over here, the colors are similar. The chazusa, the way it looks, is very similar. They're not the same substance. One is water, one is wine. But they look the same. They were both white. I had a bottle of white wine here the other day. And that's okay. We don't need it. So what do you do when they look the same? So you do a Royan. Royan, you pretend that the wine is red. And now how much water does the red need to dilute it and that it should look like water? Because by mikveh it goes by the way it looks. If you put enough water into this kli that had it been red, it would be diluted, that it would look like water, then it's a good tefillah. V'imlav, possible. So yes, you have white wine, and you can never dilute white wine with water because it's always going to look the same. Pretend the white wine is red wine, and how much water do you need to overcome? So you'll do some testing, you'll take some red wine, fill up a liter of red wine, and then you'll fill up enough water to see how much water do you need to dilute that red wine. And then you say, okay, so that same thing is that 1 liter is white wine, and that's how much water I need, the same exact water that I do with red, I do with the white, and I diluted it. If I diluted it, it's a good mikvah. It's a good tefillah. V'rimini. Dlishu malei roikin v'dbiloi. You have a bucket that's full of spittle. So Rashi says it doesn't have to be full at all. It could be just a small amount because spit sticks to the bucket. And what is that a problem with? That's a problem with chatzitza. You're going to fill it up with water, you put it into a mikvah. The water of the mikvah is not going to hit all walls because you got spittle over there. Vid biloi, and you put it in the mikvah, kilu loy taval. It's nothing. Meraglayim, what do you do with meraglayim? Roy noisan kilu hemayim. Over here also there's a halacha of hashaka. Hashaka just means that water touches water. Since meraglayim is similar, it's different than water, but they're similar. So mele royin oisam, you do a royin over here. You do the kinds of royin. You replace the meraglayim, the urine, with water, as if it's water. You pretend it's water, and how much water you need to dilute it? Moli mechatas. But what about if in this kli you have para aduma water? Para aduma water is very dangerous. Why? Because para aduma water, how does it work? If somebody goes to levaya, you have to sprinkle it with para aduma water. You take the ashes of a para aduma, you burn it, and you mix it with special water from a mayon, from a spring water. That water, you can't be mevatel with other water. Why? Because everybody knows this water is super interesting. It can make somebody that went to levaya tar, but the guy that sprinkles him is tameh. So if you touch that water, you become tameh. So what's that water? It's avatuma. The water is a source of tumah. Ememela. It's also kaddish. It has gdusha. It's kachim. So that kind of water is different. So what do you do when you have that water? Let's read it again. Let's start from Meraglayim. Look what it says here. Meraglayim royin oisan ki'ilu heimayim. Over here we're using a concept called royin. Next line. It's two different ways to do it. One is a roiv, one is a royin. I would say that royin is much more. You have to do more. You have to put in a lot more water to get to royin. You have to dilute. You have a liter of wine. How much water are you putting in there to dilute it? Not 51. You have to do it more. So sometimes you go with roiv, sometimes you go with royin. Man chamslei dislei royin. Who's the one that told us this idea when it came to white wine in the mikvah that we mentioned before? White wine. Rabbi Yehuda says royin. Rabbi Yehuda, uktanis desagadei beruba. But it also says that's enough to do roiv. You need 1% more than the other one, and you're good. Or Rabbi Eli kasha. Another again. Before we said, yeah. So which one is it? Do we do roiv or do we do roiv? Or Rabbi Eli kasha. Holiday. Rabbi Yehuda himself actually holds roiv. He holds roiv. All of Shas, roiv. Like we see by mechatos. The Bryce over here says if you have mechatos, you have the paraduma water, what do? Roiv. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Oh, the Rabbi. This concept of royin, that you need more. That's his Rebbe Rim Gamliel. As Taisus, anybody that learns Daf Yomi knows that all over Shas, Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says, min b'minoi loy batel. Loy batel. And over here he's saying, Hadi day, Rabbi Yehuda holds roiv is mevatel. So Taisus says, Mishum Samchin and Ashinui the Rava, because we go with Rava's pshat in 2 minutes. So once we see Rava, we'll understand how come throughout Shas we say that min b'minoi loy batel. Happens to be that there's a connection, Rashi says, between min b'minoi and min she'einu b'minoi. In other words, if you hold by min b'minoi, roiv is mevatel, so also by min she'einu b'minoi, they're connected. You do it's like a hekish, if this is the halacha by one, you have the halacha by the other. The sign Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Meshur ben Gamliel. Here, this is Rabbi. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Gamliel, Ein dam mevatel dam. One blood, since it's min b'minoi, there's no bittul. Ein dam mevatel dam. And Rashi over here says, because somebody was questioning it yesterday, Ein dam mevatel, he says by both, by zrika and by kisi adam. In other words, by kachim, yesterday we made a distinction between kachim, if you're doing zrika, or if you're doing kisi adam, which is a mitzvah. Ein dam mevatel dam. Ein roik mevatel roik. Two types of spittle. A kosher spit from somebody who's tar cannot overcome with a roiv the spittle of a zav. Anything that comes out of a zav's mouth, a zav's body, the same would apply with a zava and a nida. It's avatuma, and if you take another spit from a tar person, it's not mevatel it. And the same halacha applies to meraglayim, that you have tummy meraglayim, so you can't add a bunch of tar meraglayim to mevatel it and say, why not? Because it's min b'minoi, Leiba. Okay, now, says Rava Amar. Rava holds that according to everybody, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, min b'minoi is not batel. Remember, that's what Tosfos says. This is where we get it from. That even according to Rabbi Yehuda, min b'minoi, not batel. What about min shebe'ein minoi? Two different types of things. Then we do royin. This is what Rav is saying. According to, we're going to do royin. Just mechatos is different. Mechatos is different. Oh, why? Completely different than what we answered you before, Noam. Something out of left field. Rav Amar b'dlisha toichay tar v'gabi tamei askina. Take a look over here. This is gewaldik. 3 halachas we're going to show you here. Here you have a mouse who's going to have a heart attack. I don't want to scare you. What just happened? He's dead. He touched the kli from the outside. The entire kli becomes tamei, including the inside. That's halacha number 1. Halacha number 2. Take a look. You have mashkin. You have liquids that are tamei because it's a mouse liquid. And you pour it inside the kli. What happens? The entire kli becomes tamei, even the outside. We're not talking about a kli cheres here. Any kli. But take a look at this. You have mouse water. You have all the good stuff. And you pour the water on the outside of a kli. Take a look what happens. The outside becomes tamei, and the inside is tar. What's going on? Because this whole tumah is the Rabbanon. It's not a... Rabbanon said. So Rabbanon said that the outside is tamei, the inside is tar. What do you do in such a situation? You dunk the kli in the mikveh, just the outside. You don't have to put any water in the inside. Why? Because only the outside is tamei. You have a kli. You need to get the entire exterior of the kli into the mikveh without getting water inside the kli. Why? You have something super important inside the kli. It's called paraduma water. You don't want to mix the paraduma water with nasty mikveh water. It's going to ruin the thing. So you put it in slowly into the mikveh, but it has to touch every single surface of the outside. You know what's going to happen. Water is going to come in. So what do? You don't really put it 100% into the water. You leave a millimeter, so then you didn't do a tahara. It's not a real mikveh. So what's the halacha? The halacha is you have to make sure that water goes into the inside. You have no way out of it. If you want to make sure that you got every single surface 100%, I need water to come in. I don't care how much. A half an inch of water inside. But if you're going to be so makbid that even one drop is not going to go in, then I know you didn't do a good job on the outside. Kom Chacham, they say, no. We need more. You gotta put in a significant amount because it's going to be something like this. Let's see if we have the video here. Here he is. He's not going. You see how he's not doing the whole thing. He's scared that the water from the mikveh is going to go in. So that's not good. So let's see inside. Rav Omar. Now we know what's going on here. Bidli It's talking about a bucket, toichoi tar, the inside is tar, v'gaboi tamei askinon, but the outside is tamei. Rabbi say, how did that happen? How did it happen? Because he took mouse water, he took water that's tamei, and somebody applied it, it spritzed on the outside of the kli. So when that kind of thing happens, water hits the outside of the kli, so the outside becomes tamei and the inside is tar. The medina, midoiraisa, medin, whatever the din is, sagilu v'kolduhu. If you want to make a good tefillah, you make sure that a tiny amount goes into the kli. Rabbanan the gozrubu, but Rabbanan said that you have to fill in the inside. Fill up the inside. Go, you know what? Do a dunk shebedunk. Make sure the whole inside gets full of water. Not because I need to make it tar, because I'm concerned that the outside is not going to become tar if you don't put it inside. Why? Maybe you'll be so concerned about the inside of the kli that you won't put it inside the mikvah. Oh, hold on a second. V'kivin de'ikeri buya loy tzarech. But now, that's why you need a roiv. Not that you need a roiv. Fakir, you don't need anything inside the kli. The whole point of putting water inside the kli is that you shouldn't cheat on the outside. So as long as you have a little bit in the inside, it's enough. So Rachacham said, in this one case of mechatos, you could put a roiv. That's enough for me to be comfortable that you dunk the whole kli into the water. But otherwise, we go with royin. Omer Rava, Omer Rabbanan b'taima, V'omer Rabbanan beruba, V'omer Rabbanan b'chazusa. Says Rava, he's making a sikum of the whole sugya. There's three ways to overcome another object. One is with tam, taste, if I can taste it, which we call be'etzem batel b'shishim. It's 1/60th. Even if you have 1/60th of another food, you could taste it. V'omer Rabbanan beruba, and there's another way to do it is you have more percentages. V'omer Rabbanan b'chazusa, and another way to do it is if it looks a certain way. Min b'sheirin minoi. When it comes to two different types of objects, like basar b'chalav. Okay, so now we have two different meanings. We just saw. We had the rice and the wheat, and that goes with taste. If you can taste it, then you yoitza matzah, you yoitza whatever it is. Min b'minoi beruba. If it's the same exact thing, so this interesting thing you had over here. Kalman's Meals on Wheels, a bunch of nuggets. And this is Vinny's nuggets. Min b'minoi. And then you have a taroivis, you have some sort of mix-up between this. So it goes by roiv. Min b'minoi. Heichadigi chazusa, and when it comes to here, very good, red wine. It's really white wine. You want to make white wine kosher, or if you want to make red wine kosher, how do you know how much red wine passes a mikvah? If it still looks like red wine. If you could dilute it where it becomes sort of like water, then it becomes kosher. Because by mikvah it goes by how it looks. So there's look, there's flavor, and there's rive. Okay, so that's the end of this. Now we're going back to the other sugya. Where was that? Yesterday we had this sugya. We have noisar, a kazais of noisar, a kazais of pigul. And it's mixed in. They're mixed in together. You choose it. It becomes this. So he said that even with two isurim, these are both isurim, one could be mevatel the other. The one that's the roiv is mevatel the other one. Says the Gemara, that was Rish Lakish. That you can't give a malchus because one overcomes the other. And then we said that it's a hasra safek because now the Edom didn't know what to warn him for. We don't know which one overcomes what. Is it the noisar overcoming the pigul or the pigul overcoming the noisar? Upliga the Rebbe Lazar. Domer Rebbe Lazar, Keshem Shem mitzvahs mevatli zu. Just like one mitzvah, even if one is very sharp and one tastes very, very strong, you eat it with another mitzvah, it's not mevatel, the lesser tasting mitzvah. I disagree. If you eat two isurim, noisar and pigul, You do something like this, one is not mevatel the other, even if it looks like marble. You'll get malchus in this case. You are over into Yisurim, and I told you not to eat it, you get malchus. Says the Gemara, Man Shamas Leiba Omar Ein Mitzvah is Mevatel Zuzu. Who's the man the Omar that says that a mitzvah is not mevatel another mitzvah? Hilleli, the famous Hillel. The Sanya Omar will have al Hillel. Hazokin, they said on Hillel Hazokin, show you korcha mivasach hazvoichlon. He would take the korban Pesach, the matzah, the maror, put it all together, and he would eat it. Mishum shenemar matzah isum royer yechlu. Places in Pesachim already asked the kasha that some of you are thinking to yourselves. If it's a mefurish pasuk, so then how do you see from here that a mitzvah is not mevatel another mitzvah? Okay, that's Taisus over there. Okay, now I want to show you this unbelievable video. Those who understand. I think you're going to have a lot to know from this video.
Pesach Sameach.
So anyways, Amatzah Z'mrei Yichlu. Ton Rabban and the fine test on the base. Charson shel Zov v'Zava. Pam Rishon v'Sheni Tamei. If you only washed it out 2 times, trying to get it out, we're talking about it's cold, right? If it was hot, it never comes out. It's cold, so I'll try to get it out. Shlishi Tar, if I rinse this, it's a Ovid Shel Meir Raglayim on Shabbos. It's, what is it called? What is it called on Shabbos when it's mamish disgusting? Graf Sharei. Graf Sharei. So, Shlishi Tar. That's if you try to rinse it out with another thing called water. But if you didn't use water, what did you use? Another Meir Raglayim. Avilo Asiri, according to this man, because it's min b'minoi, the bulk Meir Raglayim. Rabbi Elazar Yaakov Omer, Shlishi, Afal Bishli Nosan L'Toichim Mayim Tar. Rabbi Elazar Yaakov says, no, you don't need it. It's fine. You could with min b'mino, even 2 at the same exact type, one will take it out. 3 times rinsing with Meir Raglayim will come out. Tar. Man Shamas Leiba Omar min b'mino loy batel. Who's this man the Omar we discussed in Omen Aleph that says that the same min Meir Raglayim or like ein dam? Who said before ein dam mevatel dam? One blood cannot be mevatel another blood. One spittle can. We even had Meir Raglayim on Omen Aleph. One Meir Raglayim of tamei cannot be bottled through tar. Rabbi Yehuda. The problem is that Rabbi Yehuda says that if you rinse it 3 times with water, it does come out. Min b'mino is not bottled because it's min, but if you rinse this Meir Raglayim out with the water, it does come out after 3 times. So here's tviyah. This is to do tviyah. Very interesting. It spins. To spin, well, look, you add a little bit of this of wool, and it becomes thicker. It's unbelievable. So check this out. You have a woman who's tamei. Her spittle is avatuma. So the actual string becomes tamei. Comes a guy, and he picks it up. If the spit is dry, then he remains green. If the spit is moist, then he turns red. He becomes tamei. Why? Because he's mesis. He moved it. Just by moving it. Mesit. Hesses. So, you moved it, tar. Why? Because it's dry. But it was moist, the person who moves it, tamei, becomes tamei. Because this is a fluid that came from her mouth, and any fluid that comes out of a zav anida, it's like avatuma. Let's say you take a dry rope that you know that a zav anida put saliva in there, because that's how they used to do it. And these women, that was their job, that was their number one parnasa, to make thread. It involved a lot of spit, that it helped the whole process. So now obviously she's not going to sell it moist. It dried out. You come and you add water to it. In other words, you wake up the chayzvener sort of. You're waking up the spit that was once dry. Because then the spit is again moist. Even if you rinse it out a lot, so over here the Gemara says even if you rinse it out a lot, it's not going to help. And before you said if you rinse it out 3 times, it's enough according to Rabbi Yehuda. So which one is it? If you rinse out this pottery with Meir Raglayim 3 times is enough. If it's saliva, it's not enough. Even 10 times. You can make a distinction. Saliva, by the way, I looked it up. You know how like mothers do this? They go like this. it says it actually has, spit actually has an ability to break down like stains, certain stains, not oily stains. Enzymes, because the saliva has certain enzymes. So like food stain, you have some cake, it's a good idea to use saliva. Anyway, the saliva doesn't come out of the clothing as easy as meriglaim comes out of the cheres. One more short sugya. Do we have time? 3 minutes. Let's get to the Mishnah. We learned in the Mishnah in the Sarif Bedam. Here, let me just show you the Mishnah quickly because it's important to see this. It'll make it easier for us. There's 2 lines in the Mishnah. If regular good blood that you were about to do zrika became mixed in with dam of something that's possible, like the dam of pigul, what's the halacha? Yishopach la'ama. You pour it into the drainage here, like this, yeah? One more halacha. The damatamtzis. What's damatamtzis? The 2 bloods. There's the blood that comes when you shecht. The initial blood is damanefesh. That's the only blood I can use for zrika. When the animal's dead, it stops moving, and the blood comes out after that, that's called damatamtzis. No good. So if that damatamtzis mixes with the regular dam, what do? Yishopach la'ama. If you were writing the Mishnah, how would you write it? You'd probably write it in the Sarif Bedam Psulim, Oi Bedam Atamtzis, Yishopach la'ama. Why do you have to write twice? Put it in the drain. The answer is going to be very, very obvious in a second. And then, hold on, here's Rebbe Lezer. Lezer says, no. If you have a mixture of dam atamtzis and regular blood, or dam pasul with regular blood, you can use it. But what's the machlokes? Do I need, what's a gzeira? Chacham made a gzeira, a gather, they made a fence. Don't do this, that. I'm concerned that in the Beis HaMikdash you might have more of the dam tamtzis than dam nefesh, and it will be possible. I have more pigul blood than regular blood, and it will be possible. So even in a case where it's less, throw it out. Do I do a gzeira in the Beis HaMikdash or not? The Mar Sovar Goizrim, Mar Sovar Lo Goizrim. Tanakama say you have to make a gzeira, and Rebbe Lezer says no gzeira. Of course, everybody holds you make gzeiras in the Beis HaMikdash. Pay attention what just happened. In the second case, only the second case, do I have to be concerned that there's a lot of dam tamtzis? Look, most of the blood comes squirting out when the animal's still alive. Gallons and gallons of blood. Do I have to be concerned that maybe one time there'll be more blood from when he's dead? What does that tell me? That the top case is not even a concern. Yes, I do have to be concerned. Everybody agrees I have to be concerned of, there's always puzzle stuff in the Beis HaMikdash. There's always Revev, Nirva, Pigul, this, that. It's Matzui. So in that, nobody will argue. And everybody will say, what? Yishopech lama, throw it into the drain. There's Rav Papa saying it. Rav Papa only says his answer on one case, on the Dam Tamtzis. Is there more Dam Tamtzis? Do I have to be concerned there's more? It's common. It's not common. So it says the Gemara, now it makes a lot of sense. Top case, Rabbi Yisai, Nesar Dam Sulim. Everybody agrees that what? Yishopech la'ama. The second case, B'dam Tamtzis, that's where I have a machlokes. Now I understand why it says the Mishnah twice, Yishopech la'ama, Yishopech la'ama. Because they're 2 separate cases. One everybody agrees on, the top case. The middle one is a machlokes. But according to Rav Zvid, how come it says twice Yishopech la'ama? It should say, Nesar B'dam Sulim. Oi B'dam Tamtzis, then only one time Yishopech la'ama. Kasha, it's in fact a kasha, Rabbi Yisai. Have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.